Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's time for this DIY burlap or mesh wreath tutorial in depth for you guys. So, wreath 1. I've taken a 14-inch wire wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and I've taken 4 pieces of wire and I've looped them around in one section to create 5 holes. And what we're going to do is we're going to wire on some mesh. This particular instructions is to make 3 different colors in 3 different rows, or to use 3 different materials in 3 different rows. So another thing we can do to show you the same is we can create loops from jute twine instead of the wire. So if you're going to do this method, it's the same. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bunch up the mesh and we're going to tie it to the one rib at the center point of the second ring from the inside where it meets that rib. And we're going to do it from underneath. Okay? So then the first thing we're going to do, or the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to grab up. I've never measured, but I think it's probably about a 2-inch loop. And between the first rib and the first wire, which we'll move over out of the way for a second, we're going to push up the 2-inch loop and we're going to hold it against the rib. Then we're going to move over the first wire. We're going to create a second 2-inch loop and we're going to push it up. And inches isn't as necessarily important as the evenness. So I just like to take the second one, hold it up to the first one, and see that it's the same size. Okay? And then we're going to move over the second piece of wire and we're going to repeat until we have 5 loops. Oops. That was the third piece of wire encroaching. So if you can see, I am holding the 3 pieces now against the rib. Okay? And then I'm going to pull over that third piece of wire and make the 4th loop. And then pull over the 4th piece of wire, make the final and 5th loop. Okay. So normally I would just continue, slide the whole bunch over, and do the same thing with the next sections. So what we're going to do, because we came to the end, is we're going to cut a piece of wire. This floral wire just cuts with a scissor. I always do it deep into my scissor, don't use your tips. And we're going to go ahead and weave it in and out of the end just like we did in the beginning, just like we've done before. Hold a little piece of the tail here and wrap around the end and then twist the 2 ends together. And then from the top side, because we came in from the underside, so now we're going to do it from the top side down underneath, we're going to twist and okay. And if your first section will have 4 wires with 5 spaces, your second section will have 5 wires with 6 spaces. Your last section will have 6 wires with 7 spaces, just because it expands out each time. Okay? So that's the one technique. So let's move this out of the way. So now I'm going to show you, clean up the mess, using burlap. This is 5.5-inch wide burlap ribbon from Walmart. It comes in 30 feet, I believe it is, 30 feet, or I want to say $3.97, but don't quote me on that. But the prices always change anyway. Well, not always, but they change often enough for that not to make a difference, okay? So we're going to start the same way. Either do a piece of jute twine and tie it, or a piece of floral wire. Let's see. If we take a piece of jute twine, this jute twine is from the Dollar Tree. Okay, we tie it around the end of the burlap. Leave yourself enough of a tail to tie it to the wire. There is all kinds of different tutorials on YouTube, but you guys said you wanted me to show you how I do it, so I will. Okay. Now, just like we did with the wire mesh, we're going to start on a rib tied to the second loop in, ring, sorry, my words, and we're going to tie a knot, and that's just going to keep it from moving around on us. Now there is a popular method that's pull it through, twist it, pull it through, twist it. I have found that totally unnecessary and wastes a lot of burlap. So what I do is I start with the first hoop, and I call this sort of my locking loop, and I'll show you why. But just like we did before, you're gonna pull up 2 inches or as big a loop as you want, really, and you're gonna hold it tight to the rib, and then you're gonna go, this was the first rib, this is the second, and again, make them even. That's more important than the size, is that they're even. And then the third. And this is where many tutorials tell you, like, twist and loop and twist and loop. If you hold it here while you're working, no need for twisting and looping. I just go straight underneath and I start again at the first ring. This piece right here is gonna hold these in place, okay? But not till we're done. What really holds this all in place is the pressure between the 2 ribs. So we just keep, it's important to hold on to the work that you've done, so when you pull from the spool and not from your work. Okay? And then the next one. And then back to the front. Now this burlap ribbon does not have a right side and wrong side, but if it did, you would want to be mindful of keeping your right sides facing out. Some of the mesh has patterns on it that are only on the one side, so be mindful of that if that's your case. If you're doing any decorative ribbons, again, be mindful of front and back, but because we're using a burlap that is the same on both sides, it is not necessary. Okay, and then depending on the size of your burlap ribbon, the width of it, really, the thickness of your burlap fabric or whatever you're going to use, and how full you want your wreath to be, we could be done here. Okay, so what I have here is 1, 2, 3, 4. I went in 4 times. In 4 rows, okay? And then you can continue all the way around. And then when you're done, you want to tie off the end just like you tied off the beginning. It's really just that simple. If you need to connect 2 pieces of ribbon, make sure that your seam is underneath. And then when you're done with your whole wreath, then you want to go back and, why is it so dark? Sorry it's so dark, guys. I have no idea why it's so dark. Then you want to go back and fluff out all of your pieces of burlap. Okay, but you get the picture, and that's that method. Okay, and I'll show you the back side so you guys can see what I mean by all of those pieces that go across are nice and locking in. All of the pieces behind it, there's no twisting, there's no waste, and it protects, because we're covering these. We have bulk over these like joints here. Your door shouldn't scratch, but you know, I can't guarantee anything. Okay, so that's that. And I think, yeah, I think those are the only two. If you want to see a completely wrapped, I'll put that in the description box. Link that in the description box down below. It's called the Forever Wreath. That shows the technique of just wrapping ribbon. And then the Valentine's Day rag, it's not called Valentine's Day rag, the Valentine's Day wreath tutorial with all of the ripped fabric, that'll also be linked in the description box down below. That shows you how to make the ripped wreath and tied on sort of wreaths. Okay, so I hope this really helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Hopefully I didn't skip any steps. I'm going to go ahead and finish these off camera because they take some time. And I'll insert pictures when I'm done. Alright, take care everybody. God bless. See you next time. Bye. So I wanted to just show you guys, I finished this burlap wreath. And what I didn't realize was that less than 15 feet of burlap that I had was all that I had in the house. So I wanted to show you, this is actually just two. Remember how I was putting 4 sets of loops in each section? This is 2 sets of loops in each section. And because this burlap is 5.5 inches wide, it is still a super full wreath. And it is super sturdy. Like, you know, it's not going to come out. Once you have it all fluffed out, it catches on itself. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like, okay? So this is probably, I was trying to figure out my math, because I know I just opened this when I made the flag garland in my Patriotic Americana decor, and I cut 5 10-inch pieces off. So I'm figuring that's around 5 inches. So this was probably just still 25 feet left. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, I have to figure out how big. That might have been 15 yards, not 30 yards. Wait, that might have been 30 feet. I'll have to look it up for you guys. I'll find the tag because I don't have another roll to look at. I really thought I did. But anyway, so this is just super full. So this is just 2, if you can see here. See this wire here? And then I've got 1 section and 2 bumps. And then I put onto the next bumps. And then 1, 2 bumps between each bumps. 2 sets of 3. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's what I ended up doing. And it's still, like I said, super full. Okay? So that's that.